I couldn't feel my fingers as I gripped the edges of the worn leather chair in the attorney's office. The air was thick with the scent of polished wood and stale coffee. A cold February wind rattling the windows outside in downtown Chicago. Just 2 days earlier, we'd lowered Grandma Eleanor's casket into the frozen ground, her face peaceful in death, as if she'd finally escaped the weight of secrets she'd carried. Now, here I was, in my faded black dress that hung loose on my frame, surrounded by family who suddenly felt like strangers. My brother, Marcus, stood tall in his tailored suit, exuding that effortless confidence that always made rooms bend to him. Mom, Lydia, hovered nearby, her hand on his arm like a queen anointing her heir. The lawyer, Mr. Harlan, droned on in his monotonous tone, flipping through the stack of legal papers that held Grandma's final words. To my grandson, Marcus Reed, Harlan read, his voice cutting through the silence like a dull blade. I bequeath my Lake Michigan yacht, the Whispering Wind, valued at over $2 million, docked in the harbor. Marcus's lips curled into a smug grin, his eyes gleaming. Whispers rippled through the room, Aunt Teresa nodding approvingly to Uncle Robert. And to Marcus, my penthouse in the Loop, fully furnished, along with all contents. Mom squeezed his shoulder, her pride radiating like heat from a fire. The murmurs grew, a chorus of agreement that this was right, that Marcus deserved it all. Then came the hammer, finally. To Marcus Reed. I leave Reed Properties in its entirety, all commercial buildings, developments, and holdings across Illinois, estimated at $15 million. The room erupted in quiet congratulations. Marcus shook hands, backslaps echoing like distant thunder. Cousin Sarah inherited Grandma's antique jewelry set. Aunt Teresa got $50,000 in cash. Uncle Robert received the stock portfolio. Even a distant relative I'd barely met walked away with her vintage Cadillac. But when Harlan turned to me, Emily Reed, the air shifted. It thickened, pregnant with unspoken judgments. My heart thudded against my ribs, a frantic rhythm I couldn't control. I didn't expect the empire. Grandma had always groomed Marcus for that. But maybe something small, a token of the bond we'd shared. Her old sketchbooks, perhaps, or a bit of money to chase my art dreams. Instead, Harlan reached into his desk drawer and pulled out a thin, creased envelope, yellowed with age. It looked insignificant, like an afterthought. The silence now was different, loaded, expectant. Eyes bored into me as I stepped forward on numb legs. The envelope felt weightless in my palm, almost mocking. Marcus chuckled first, a low rumble that spread like poison. That's it? An envelope. Snickers followed, muffled but sharp. Aunt Teresa covered her mouth, her shoulders trembling. Oh, Emily. Sweetie, Mom said, her voice laced with that pitying tone she'd perfected over years of my failures. I'm sure it's something heartfelt. You know, Grandma always saw you as delicate, not cut out for the big leagues. My cheeks burned, humiliation coiling in my gut like a snake. I tore open the envelope with trembling hands, the room's gaze hot on my skin. Inside, a one-way plane ticket to Napa Valley, California, departing in 4 days, and a small card in Grandma's elegant, looping script, follow the routes you've forgotten. My dear. Laughter bubbled up again, louder this time. Marcus barked out a guffaw. A vacation? She left you a freaking trip while I get the keys to the kingdom. Uncle Robert shook his head, smirking. Maybe she figured you needed a break from, well, everything. Mom patted my arm. We could refund it. Honey, turn it into something practical. My throat sealed shut, words trapped behind a wall of shame. Why Napa? Grandma had whispered stories of California vineyards in my childhood. Her voice wistful. But she'd built her life here in Chicago. Why humiliate me like this? I'd been the one at her bedside in those final months, holding her hand as cancer ravaged her. I'd listened to her ramblings, absorbed her pain. And this was my reward, a ticket to nowhere while Marcus claimed the throne. That night, alone in my cramped apartment on the outskirts of the city, the ticket mocked me from the kitchen table. Tears blurred the print, my chest heaving with sobs that echoed off the bare walls. Was this her final judgment? That I was the family footnote? The dreamer who never amounted to anything? Marcus had always been the golden child, the one with the MBA. The sharp deals. The future. I dropped out of college to care for her, sketching in stolen moments, believing our bond was unbreakable. But now, it felt like betrayal. A silent knife twisted in my back. I curled into a ball on the couch, the weight of rejection pressing down, fracturing something deep inside. For 2 days, I barricaded myself in, ignoring calls from work, claiming grief leave. My manager sympathized, everyone knew about the funeral. I pored over old photos, me at 7, painting wildflowers in Grandma's backyard, us baking pies in her cozy kitchen, flour dusting my cheeks while she wore her signature pearl earrings. Those Sundays had been mine alone. Marcus was always off at lacrosse or leadership camps, prepping for the real world. Grandma and I would sit under the old maple tree, her tales weaving magic, stories of sun-drenched valleys where vines twisted like family secrets, where creativity bloomed unchecked. You have the haze spirit, Emily, she'd murmur, her fingers tracing my palm. The one that dreams in colors others can't see. Her eyes would cloud sometimes, distant, as if reliving a loss I couldn't fathom. Someday, you'll understand the silence I've kept. Things shifted when I hit 13 and Marcus 16. He invaded our Sundays. Not for stories, but for boardroom lessons in her home office. He's got the read edge, Uncle Robert would boast. Built for empire. My time with Grandma shrank, overshadowed. But she never let me feel small. You're my quiet storm, Emily, she'd whisper. One day, it'll all make sense. I clung to that, even as doubt gnawed at me. On the third night, my phone buzzed at midnight. Marcus, slurring from some upscale bar. His victory party, no doubt. Sis, just checking in on that killer inheritance. Laughter in the background. A plane ticket? Man, Grandma must have pitied you. All those years sucking up. And that's your payoff? Pathetic. Rage ignited in my veins. Hot and unfamiliar. You never achieved squat art school dropout. Waiting tables. Enjoy your little getaway. He hung up. But his words lingered like smoke, fueling a fire I'd long suppressed. Grandma wasn't cruel. Her silence had purpose. What if Napa held answers? What if this was her way of arming me against the family that had always diminished me? I packed that night, fury steadying my hands. I requested time off. Boarded the flight. My mind a whirlwind of hurt and resolve. The plane touched down in San Francisco, the fog rolling in like forgotten memories. I navigated the airport haze, signs in English but feeling foreign. No plan, no hotel, just the ticket and that cryptic card. Then, amid the bustle, a man in a crisp black suit held a sign, Emily Reed. My breath caught. He was in his late 50s. Salt and pepper hair. Eyes sharp yet kind. Miss Reed? I'm Victor Lang. I served your grandmother for years. He took my bag with practiced ease. She arranged this. Follow me. Confusion warred with instinct. Why? What's in Napa? Victor's gaze softened. She wanted you to claim what's rightfully yours, her true legacy. The drive north wound through highways turning to vine-laced roads, the air sweet with earth and grapes. Hills undulated like breaths held too long. The Hayes Vineyard Estate, Victor explained as we turned onto a gravel path lined with ancient oaks. The estate emerged, a sprawling Spanish-style mansion of warm stucco and red-tiled roofs, overlooking acres of vineyards glowing in the afternoon sun. Fountains bubbled in the courtyard, lavender swaying in the breeze. This was hers, I whispered, stepping out, legs unsteady. Victor nodded. Yours now. The estate, the winery, producing award-winning Cabernets, and the Hayes Design Atelier in San Francisco. A boutique fashion line worth millions. My world spun. Fashion? Grandma had built Reed Properties in Chicago real estate. Cold and calculated. This was vibrant. Creative. She kept it hidden, Victor said. From your family. She knew they'd tear it apart. The door opened, revealing an elderly woman in a flowing sundress, silver hair pinned back. Emily. She rushed forward, tears streaming. I'm Sophia Hayes, your great-aunt. Eleanor's sister. Her embrace was fierce, smelling of rosemary and thyme. She sent you back to us. Inside, the house breathed history, sunlit rooms with exposed beams, walls lined with sketches of gowns and wine labels. Sophia led me to a study, placing a carved wooden box before me. Eleanor wrote these for you, letters she never sent. Waiting for this moment. The first. Dated my birth year, my precious Emily. You have the eyes of our mother, the visionary who turned a small Napa plot into a thriving vineyard. Letter after letter unveiled the truth. The Hayes family legacy began with artistry, our great-grandmother's dresses for Hollywood starlets, evolving into a high-end line. Intertwined with the winery. Grandma had expanded it secretly after marrying Grandpa in Chicago, fleeing family feuds but preserving it here. Marcus has the Reed ambition, one letter read. Cold. Profit-driven. But you, Emily, carry our creative fire. I saw how they belittled you, silenced your dreams. This is my revenge for the betrayals I endured, for the way they dismissed us both. Betrayal? Sophia explained, your mother, Lydia, married into the Reeds for status. She convinced Eleanor to bury her California roots, calling them frivolous. Marcus inherited that disdain. Eleanor kept silent to protect this from their greed. Legal walls built under California law, untouchable by Illinois courts. The estate was worth $50 million, vines yielding premium wines, the atelier dressing celebrities. Grandma's silence wasn't neglect, it was strategy. A quiet vendetta against a family that had stifled her spirit. As days blurred, I immersed myself, tasting wines that carried her essence, sketching designs that Lucia, the atelier's lead seamstress, praised as echoes of Eleanor's genius. But the storm brewed. Marcus arrived unannounced on day 5, storming the estate like a conqueror. You scheming bitch, he roared in the foyer, face contorted. Sophia stood firm. You manipulated her. This should be mine, split fair. His words reopened wounds, years of his mockery. Mom's indifference. The family's collective dismissal of my soft nature. Rage. Long doused. Erupted. Fair? You got everything in Chicago of $15 million. The life you craved. This was never yours. He lunged verbally. You're nothing without her pity. I'll sue. Expose this fraud. The confrontation shattered illusions, our sibling bond. Fragile as glass. Cracked irreparably. Lawyers clashed, his Illinois firm versus California's ironclad trusts. He lost. The price of his greed, alienation. A tarnished reputation as whispers of his entitlement spread. I stayed. Roots deepening in Napa soil. The atelier flourished under my designs. Wines winning awards. But victory came laced with sorrow, the cost of choices, lost family ties. The ache of Grandma's unspoken pain mirroring mine. Her final letter, Emily. This empire is your weapon. Avenge the silences we endured. But remember, revenge heals nothing if it consumes you. Bloom here, but forgive enough to live. Moonlight bathed the vines as I stood on the terrace. Jasmine whispering in the wind. Marcus's empire might gleam in steel and glass, but mine pulsed with heart and the bitter sweetness of retribution earned.